In the SEC, Forrest Connolly, Jay Alter, Tamara Brown with you. Spencer Rattler in South Carolina. How about a hurdle? MarShawn Lloyd into the end zone. Touchdown, South Carolina. Goes airborne, hurdles over the defense for the touchdown.
Well, he showed you all the intangibles that you look for from a running back. Balance, his ability to stay balanced, explosion. When he jumps over the defender, you see the defender put his head down, you've got to get up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Dynasty Degens Rookie Profiler Series. I am Nerd Boy, and I am very happily joined by my old co-host, somebody that started up this brand with me. I am pumped to have JC back at JCJ Dynasty. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, Nerd, what's going on? Yeah, really happy to be back here. You know, I had to take a few months off for some personal matters and stuff like that to step away from the brand. I'm happy to see that you guys are growing and expanding and putting out good content and stuff. So I'm just happy to be back here chopping it up with you again.
Yeah, I miss you, man. It was good talking backstage and catching up a little bit, and it was I was spoiled being able to do this every week. So it's good to open this up, and I'm glad you joined me today. Today we are going to be talking MarShawn Lloyd. So MarShawn Lloyd out of USC, he's a junior. He is coming in at 5'9", 210 pounds. His 23 stats were 116 carries, 820 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Lloyd is somebody that I think I was kind of sleeping on a little bit coming into this year. I didn't really have him up there in the tier that I have him in now, but he's really opened my eyes, and I've watched more and more tape as I've gone along. What I like about him is he's got some lateral agility. Obviously, you can see what he can do, open field and open space right there with that clip that we just showed you. He's got burst. He's strong. He's got a good IQ as a player. I noticed that he is always thinking. He's always kind of like playing chess in his head. Like he looks at moves. He looks at the field. He can see the field really well. Great vision. He's good in the pass game, good pass protection. I think there's a lot to like about this guy. I have him like pretty much even keel as like my RB2-ish of this class. I think he's a great value right now, and I hope he stays that way. I'm really hoping that he stays in that range that I see him going. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I guess we're going to find out through the draft. JC, this is your guy. This is your RB1 of the class. Like I said, I always have the analysts on here, and I just let them choose who they want to go for. And the first name that you said was MarShawn Lloyd. So why don't you tell me why he's your RB1 of the class and what you really like about him?
Yeah, and I guess like before I get into MarShawn Lloyd, I should talk about when I'm scouting a running back, I'm looking for above average traits. So I want something that I can hang my hat on when I watch this guy play. Is this skill set going to translate to the NFL? Is it special enough to translate to the NFL? So the 5 things that I look for primarily that I think are the most important for today's NFL are that burst that you talked about. So that first 10 yards, when as soon as they get the handoff to when they take that step back to catapult themselves into the line of scrimmage to hit a hole, how fast are they reaching their top speed? I think that's important. Lateral movement, lateral agility, like you mentioned, I think is incredibly important in today's NFL. The improvisation, which kind of speaks to your IQ point a little bit. Can they make something out of nothing? Like if there's nothing blocked, can they make something happen, or are they just going to get wrapped up and tackled for a loss of 3? And then receiving ability, I think, is another huge important thing that we need to take into consideration, especially when we're talking about dynasty assets and scoring fantasy points in general. So MarShawn Lloyd, I think the burst, he's a smooth accelerator. He hits the hole, gets to a top speed quickly. He doesn't lose speed when he turns around the edge, which is a huge deal that a lot of people don't really talk about. Because if you lose like that speed, I mean, it's a killer for making maybe like a 5 or 6 yard gain into a 20-yard gain. You got to beat that linebacker, that flowing safety that's going to creep down into the box area. His lateral movement, like you talked about, the agility aspect of his game, I think that's his calling card, especially for a guy that's 5'9", 217. I mean, for him to make these jump cuts and these bursts that he can make behind the line of scrimmage where let's say he's teleporting at times from behind a guard to now all of a sudden he's on the outside and he's taking it to the defense down the sideline. I think that's incredibly important. I think it's absolutely the number one trait that he has that separates him from a lot of players in this class. His physicality and contact balance. He has 47 missed tackles this season in 2023, 3.97 yards after contact per carry. And like I just mentioned, he's 5'9", 217. He's not exactly a light guy to bring down. He's pretty solid with that BMI. So, you know, the BMI guys are going to love MarShawn Lloyd when it comes to the combine and stuff. And then lastly, the Senior Bowl really shed some light on this, but the receiving ability. He only had 13 catches at USC this year. He had 232 yards receiving, so that's good for 17.8 yards per reception, which is really good, obviously. He just wasn't used that much in that respect. When he went to the Senior Bowl, though, he couldn't be covered. I think if you watched MarShawn Lloyd at any point throughout his college career, primarily at South Carolina, where he was lined up out wide and in the slot and really smooth in the screen game, I think you probably knew going into this game with his short area quickness that he was not going to be able to be covered by a lot of these linebackers and stuff. He has one play too against Nevada, and I don't know if you've seen it in your film studies or not, but he is in the backfield with Caleb Williams. He takes a seam route right up the middle, probably like 25 yards down the field, and Caleb Williams throws him the ball. MarShawn Lloyd has to contort his body. It's a back shoulder play. Not only does he catch it, he then puts his feet in the ground and he picks up like 20 yards after the catch. It's like a 45-yard play, which is really, really impressive for a running back. Obviously, I don't think it's anything that you could take lightly from MarShawn Lloyd. I think he's one of the best pass catching backs in this class as well. It just doesn't necessarily showed up on the stats this year in 2023.
Yeah. I noticed. I saw that game. I watched the Nevada game. I actually cut that up for Caleb, and then it's fun to do these cut ups with these players where I pick the quarterback or whatever, and then I'm like, man, I'm getting full view of the running back or the wide receiver, and I just totally just shift my attention elsewhere. But yeah, I agree. I think MarShawn Lloyd is very slept on when it comes to his receiving ability, and like I said, he's got excellent pass protection. So I think that in general is going to keep him on the field. I know that that's kind of a being a dead horse, but we always want usage, especially when it comes early on to these rookie running backs. And if he's protecting the quarterback wherever he lands, I think that's really important. But moving forward, if he does get drafted and there is a possibility that he boosts up in value as far as like landing spot and everything, is there anything about his game that you are a little nervous about translating to the NFL? Like any holes that you can kind of pick up on and get a little nervous about?
I think the primary question that he's going to have to answer is the injury history. He did have the torn ACL his freshman season, and it caused him to redshirt that freshman season, and it took him a little while to come back from it. He's obviously a few years removed from that injury now, but I think teams may potentially question why it is that it took so long for him to come back originally and why he hasn't really been able to handle a bell cow workload. I would guess would be a question that he's going to have to answer. There's some clips circulating online about his vision, how the vision could be an issue. The way that I look at it is, there are some clips out there to where he clearly misses a read. I mean, there's no denying that part. The way that I look at it is, do I want a guy who can improvise and make something happen out of nothing? And like you said, a little bit to the IQ portion of his game, to where I think he's looking for the bigger play. And sometimes he may overlook what's blocked for him right then and there. I think it's a heck of a lot easier to teach the guy, hey, just pick up the 4 or 5 yards that we're trying to get you, and we'll move this game along, as opposed to, hey, man, nothing's blocked for you. Try to reverse field and take it up the sideline for like 20 yards. Like, there's not a lot of guys that could do that. I think MarShawn Lloyd is one of those guys. So I would much rather take a guy with that kind of ceiling, that kind of upside. But I will say, yes, the vision, he absolutely would have to work on that a little bit. You can't just miss wide open blocked holes and expect to be on the field for every single snap. It's just not going to work. There are coaches that aren't going to like that. You would think the coach that does eventually draft MarShawn Lloyd, or the front office that does, would see that that's the kind of player that he is, and they would draw up something for him to highlight and to shine in that part of his game, but you never really know. And then I've seen like a little bit of like the fumble concerns people have been circulating a little bit about. if you look at what his fumble rate is, it's not fantastic, obviously, but you got guys like Melvin Gordon, Jamal Charles, Austin Eckler in the NFL that have all fumbled at a very similar rate. The fact of the matter is if you could make plays for the team, if you're a value add when you're out there, they're going to keep putting you back out on the field. So yeah, he fumbles the ball a few too many times, but I think that his skill set is very good and that it will definitely transfer and be a value add for an offense. And that's why I think he probably would be a day 2 pick if the medicals work out. I think he'll be a day 2 pick.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for day 2. I've heard about his ball security issues, and that doesn't concern me too much. It's, I've seen guys that have ball security issues all through college and then come to the NFL and don't fumble at all, and vice versa. I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it, but all it takes is a good coach to, kind of show you the way, hand placement, whatever it is, and that goes a long way. But you say early day 2, or what do you think, mid day 2?
I think it would be like a mid day 2, maybe like that, like Kendre Miller, Tajay Spears, Tank Bigsby kind of draft range, Devon A-Chain last year. I think he'll be taken before like the 100s pick. So I think anywhere from like that 75-ish to 90-ish, I think would be a good spot for Lloyd.
Yeah, I like that. And we always talk about favorite landing spot. So just drop your favorite landing spot for this guy. And, I know we know that what he does, and we know that he does it well, but where would a perfect scheme be that you think they could utilize this guy to his best of his abilities?
I guess I really haven't thought about that.
I know it's always, this is a meaningless spot in the show where we just throw this out there, and whether it comes to fruition or not, but this is just us dreaming at this point in time.
My player comp for him is DeAndre Swift. I think that they have very similar attributes in their game that make them a very attractive piece to an NFL offense. And then I think there are parts of their game that may drive coaches crazy. I think he would probably be pretty good, like in a Carolina, with Canales there. That offensive line isn't the best, obviously, in the world. So I think MarShawn Lloyd's ability to kind of improvise and kind of make something out of nothing in some aspects would be a real value add to that offense. And I think his ability to be a kind of check down player for Bryce Young and get him like a comfortable set of hands to where it just wasn't happening with Miles Sanders this year, even though they gave him the contract. I do think that Carolina would be a good fit for MarShawn Lloyd.
Yeah, any team that's very thirsty for playmakers, I think would be a good fit. Obviously, Carolina just is they're desperate for anybody to come on that team and be instant offense. And I think Marshawn Lloyd could be instant offense, if he's given the right play set and everything. But that is Marshawn Lloyd. I appreciate you joining me, JC. It's always great to talk ball with you. And I know you're coming right back for Jalen Wright. So we're going to talk Jalen Wright next. And we will catch you then.
Heck yeah.